Committee of Education. Welcome everyone, all the members. But members, as we begin, let's make sure we are signed in so that we can take the vote, or the roll, I should say. Madam Clerk, would you open the vote for the roll? Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Mr. Chairman, you have 15 members present. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you. We do have a quorum, members. Let's begin out. I'm going to call upon Representative Reedy if he'll open up our committee with the prayer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we're so thankful that the many blessings you give us of this day. And as we come together as family, come together as friends, dear Lord, we ask that you give us wisdom and knowledge in this education committee. Dear Lord, we pray that as we are parents or grandparents, that we are bringing up our kids in the direction that they need to go. Dear Lord, that they would become good citizens, those and kindness around them. Dear Lord, we know in the first book, or in James, the first chapter, we are told to be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. Dear Lord, let us all remember that wisdom given in the Bible, that everything that comes before us, that we take the time to understand or try to understand and not become angered in what we're trying to accomplish this day. Dear Lord, we know that we fail you often, and for that we ask you to forgive us of our sins. And we always ask that you keep us in your tender, loving care in all things that we do. And we're thankful for the grace that you bestow upon each and every one of us. It's these and all things we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Representative Reedy. Members, anybody have a recognition you would like to make before we begin, start moving our bills? See no one. Members, we are going to jump around a little bit. We've got a full calendar. We also have 2 confirmations today. I'm not going to start out with the confirmations, but we'll come back to them during the time of our hour-and-a-half committee. And what I've done is I've gone through, we've been moving slow, and we've got 49 bills on this calendar. And we're going to move through some that went through and that seemed to be a little less discussion, so we can move some out of the way. And we'll begin with that. This is right here. We'll come back to the confirmations. Item number 4 is rolled 1 week. Let's jump down to item number 7, House Bill 1323.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. This is being carried by Representative Tim Hicks. Are you ready to present your bill, sir?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Do you have an amendment?
I do not have an amendment, Mr. Chairman.
No amendments. Just double checking myself. No amendment. Representative Hicks, do you have 5639? Are you trying to add that onto your House Bill
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
1323?
Motion. Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second on the bill. And now on the amendment 5639, it does not rewrite the bill. Would the committee like to hear about the amendment before we add it to the bill? Okay, without objection, we will now hear the description of amendment 5639. Representative Hicks.
Mr. Chairman, this amendment makes the bill. Can I go ahead and discuss the bill?
It does make the bill.
Yes.
It doesn't. I'm being told by legal it does not. So go ahead and, why don't you explain what you understand the amendment to be, then we'll put it on the bill, and then we'll talk about the bill and make sure we have everything in order.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
can I go to legal?
You may. Without objection, we're out of session. You have a question for legal?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Katie Robertson, Office of Legal Services. Amendment 5639 makes a technical change to subsection K of Section 1.
Okay, with that explanation, Representative Hicks, we're back in session. Representative Hicks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to explain the bill.
Okay, we got a motion to adopt the amendment. The amendment is 5639. Any objection to adding the amendment to the bill for proper consideration? Hearing none, without objection, amendment 563. Okay, slow down. All those in favor of adding the amendment to the bill indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Your bill is properly amended. You are now recognized on your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In the 2023-24 school year, there was 1,434 vacancies in Tennessee. LEAs had difficulty in finding educators to teach certain subject areas and grade levels, thereby leaving students with long-term substitutes and increasing class sizes. What this bill intends to do is streamline and increase teacher licensure flexibility in the following ways. Creates a new limited occupational teacher's license that can be acquired through an LEA without attending an educator preparation program, thus giving LEAs and public charter schools more flexibility to staff critically important CTE courses with qualified industry professionals. Allows teachers with an endorsement exemption to teach a course with an end-of-the-year course assessment. Allows teachers on a limited license to teach an end-of-the-year course, which builds on recent legislative changes to allow an individual on temporary teaching permit to teach EOC courses. Allows teachers with a post-secondary license to add endorsements to their license in addition to the subject they taught at their post-secondary institution. Gives districts the ability to allow licensed teachers to expand and have flexibility, and streamlines language throughout code to clarify existing requirements for emergency teaching credentials and removes outdated and redundant language. That's the bill, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, members, with that explanation, Representative Hicks, we'll go to any questions. Representative Glenn?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Representative Hicks. One question I have, by allowing this waiver, I guess, to take place, how will this affect our SPED kids? Because if someone's not qualified to deal with our special educated kids, how will that affect them in order for us to just basically waive their teaching credentials in that term? How does that work?
Representative Hicks?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To answer that question, we might need to go out of session. I don't think it affects those kids in any way, shape, or form, but I would need clarification from that. But I don't think it does from legal.
You recognize for follow-up?
No, I thought he was going to legal.
No. Okay. Without objection, we're out of session. Legal?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Katie Robertson, Legal Services. In Section 1, subsection F, it provides that the commissioner shall not grant a person on behalf of the state board an emergency teaching credential to teach a special education course.
Any further address to legal?
No.
We're now back in session. Representative Glenn?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and that's what I needed to hear. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Representative Chairman Slater? Previous question has been called for. We do have an objection. Would you withdraw the, or do we need to take a vote? Let's withdraw. Okay, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Sponsor, this bill precludes or deletes the authorization for the commissioner to issue an endorsement for exemption for physical education teachers and elementary school students. I just wanted to know if you could explain the reasoning behind that.
You recognize Representative Hicks?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the reason that the commissioner gets involved in this, first of all, the director of schools for that district has to take this situation to the commissioner, explain that shortage or the lack of a teacher there, and they have to explain that very well, and then the commissioner gets involved in order to set the ruling that a certain teacher can be qualified to teach that course. So that's how that all takes place.
You have a follow-up, Representative Barrett? You may.
I do, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. In the legal analysis for the bill, it says that under this bill, all physical education classes must be taught by an educator who holds a credential in the State Board of Education's rules. And so the purpose of the bill is in order to be able to fill open seats and give temporary certifications. So this specifically excludes the ability to issue these temporary licensures to PE teachers. I'm just trying to understand why that is, if there's a specific reason or what the purpose of that is.
Representative Hicks?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know what the purpose of that is. I'm assuming that this particular bill specifies and goes right to account on where the shortage is. I think all districts know where the shortage is, and I think that's what this bill is trying to speak of.
Is it department? Representative Hicks, we do have the department here who has signed up to speak. If you would like to, Representative Barrett,
Sure.
Get their input on that question.
That would be great, Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, would the Department of Education representative come forward? Without objection, we are now out of session. Representative Barrett, would you like to address the specific question to our DOE representative?
I will, Chairman. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well.
Great. You heard the question I asked. In the specific provision of the bill that excludes the ability for the commissioner to issue this type of temporary license or credential to a PE teacher, just trying to understand what the mindset behind that was and if there is a specific reason for that or an explanation.
Yes, sir. In Jack Powers of the Department of Education, I believe that's in reference to the Tom Cronin Act, which, as far as I'm aware, is still on the books. And that's an act that specifically indicates that for certain, I think it's certain grade bands for PE, that it has to be staffed by a properly licensed teacher. So I think that that's what this section is referring to. It's just trying to maintain that expectation that's already in law. To Chairman Hicks's point, part of the rationale behind this was to take a scalpel approach and make sure that we have licensure flexibility in as many places it makes sense. And to Representative Glenn's question, we did explicitly make sure another thing that's already in statute was called out again here, which is the piece around not providing a permit or a waiver or any flexibilities for special education teachers. So I think that's why that portion is in there.
Representative Barrett, you have a follow-up question?
Just quickly, and thank you for that explanation. It does provide some more color. I wasn't on the subcommittee, so I didn't get to have any discussion about this prior or listen to the conversation. The only question that I would have is, and again, this is my first year on education, so I have some ability to self-reflect here and acknowledge that I don't have full knowledge of everything in this area, which I'm glad you're sitting here. So is there some special qualification or education requirement for PE teachers that requires us or provides a reason why we don't want to allow temporary licensed educators to do this?
Mr. Powers?
They do have to have the proper endorsement to teach PE, but I think your question is more of a philosophical one, which might be better suited for the person responsible for putting the Tom Cronin Act in place. I I don't want to postulate too much, but I just from previous years when we've had conversations around licensure for PE, I think, and obviously we've seen some bills this session on licensure or on the importance of physical activity. People just feel strongly that recess and physical activity are a really critical piece of development for our early grades children. And I think that's why that law exists, is to make sure that we have properly licensed teachers in that subject.
Okay, thank you, Representative Barrett. Any further discussion while we're out of session with Mr. Powers? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. We're now back in session and on the bill. Representative Slater, I go to you. Question's been called on the bill. We are on House Bill 1323. Question's been called. Any objection? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, would you take the vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 15 ayes and 0 nays.
House Bill 1323 moves out to Finance.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, sir.
Chairman. Thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
committee.
Moves out to Finance. Okay, as I said, members, we are skipping around. Let's go now down to item number 8, which is House Bill 545. That has been requested to be rolled 1 week. Item number 11, House Bill 1175 by Chairman Williams. Is he in the room? He had another bill to run. We will come back to item number 11. Item number 12, House Bill. Okay, House Bill 1199 will be rolled to the hill of the calendar. Also, item number 13, House Bill 1197 by Representative Kumar will be rolled to the hill of the calendar. Item number 14, House Bill 1227 by Chairman Gary Hicks. Is he in the room? Okay, we'll keep coming back. Item number 15, House Bill 531 has been taken off notice. Item number 15, House Bill 531. Item number 16, members, House Bill 355.
Second.
Representative Powers, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. House Bill 355 requires a local education agency and LEA to permit virtual school students to participate in interscholastic athletics if the virtual school students satisfy the eligibility requirements. A few years ago, we voted to allow homeschool students to participate, but we did not include virtual school students in that bill. This bill would permit them to participate also in the 2022-23 school year. We had almost 13,000 virtual school students statewide. And with that, Mr. Chairman, be glad to take any questions from the committee.
Thank you, Representative Powers, and I did not see an amendment, but with that explanation of House Bill 355, we'll now entertain questions from the committee. Representative McKenzie, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And as you said, we allow homeschool students, but I kind of clearly understand that because those are really kind of one student, one school with their parents. This is a little different, in my opinion, in terms of these virtual academies. I mean, they make a conscious decision that they want to be educated at home or somewhere outside the school property. That's my first question. I mean, concern is that, and I fully understand that. So I'll ask you to address that. But then also, it's a big deal in interscholastic sports in terms of populations and class 1A, 2A, 6A, what have you. This to me might put our foot on the scales of some of these athletic programs in a way that may or may not be intentional, that will put an unfair advantage on certain schools and certain systems. So how would you address those two concerns?
Representative Powers?
Okay, thank you. And thank you for the question. Yes, they are different from homeschool and different locations. But just think athletics is so important, especially to get people involved in sportsmanship. I mean, I played athletics all my life, and to have them at least participate. I know they're doing a virtual school, but this also will allow them to socially get together and participate in team sports. The TSS, and going back to reflect on your other question too, TSSAA is good with this bill because we've already checked with them. So we're fine with them as far as them being able to rank a division or whatever. So they just participate in the local school where they're located.
Thank you.
Any follow-up question,
No,
Representative? Representative Sopicki?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for clarification, so your intent of the bill is these virtual school students are already zoned for some particular LEA and probably zoned for some particular school inside that LEA. What you're saying is if they want to participate in sports, they would go and participate in the school that they are zoned for by that LEA, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Hakeem.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Powers, when it comes to vaccinations and so forth, I guess the potential, the spread of, I guess, unwanted viruses, are there any requirements that these young people have been vaccinated or anything of that nature?
Representative Powers?
And to be honest with you, I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is because I don't think when they're doing the virtual school that they are required to have the same type of vaccination. They may have to have some, but I'm not sure how many or if they're limited to a certain amount.
If I may follow.
You may follow up.
All right. I believe you said that the TSSAA has accepted this.
Yes.
I don't know if we have to go out of session or not, but I wanted to ask, if necessary, the attorney, those guidelines that they have, would these young people have to be vaccinated, anything of that nature?
Without objection, Representative Hakeem, I'm going to ask legal. She can't address that, okay?
Okay. Yes, sir.
Any objection to out of session? Hearing none. Legal?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Katie Robertson, Office of Legal Services. I'm unaware of vaccination requirements by TSSAA or any other sports association. However, students of a public virtual school operated by the LEA are public school students, and they would be required to follow vaccination requirements as a public school student. This bill does not address any vaccination requirements.
Representative Hakeem?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I'm understanding what I'm hearing, the LEAs normally would have its students vaccinated, but it's not spelled out in a particular piece in regards to virtual school, but they are LEA students. Am I correct?
Legal?
Students who attend virtual schools that are operated by the LEA are public school students. And so public school students would be required to receive any other immunization requirements established for a public school student who attends an LEA in person as the same as a student attending a virtual school under the LEA.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone else have a question of legal while we're out of session? Hearing none, without objection, we're now back into session. And I'm going to call on Representative Mayberry. You're recognized.
So Clarksville Montgomery County Schools, we have the Voyagers, what they're called. So it's a K-12 online public school. And you're simply saying that my Clarksville Montgomery County School System's virtual school is now allowed to go into the sports programs of which they are currently actually zoned for geographically where they live within my district.
You recognize
Yes,
Representative
yes, I
Powers?
would. They had to meet all of eligibility requirements that a normal student would in a public school. Right. To be on
Follow-
a team or anything like that, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Follow up,
And
Representative.
great bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Representative Barrett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Sponsor, how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
I'm good. With regards to these students that are living out of the zone of where the virtual school is located. So like Representative Mayberry, I have a virtual school in Lewis County that's very successful and growing year after year. And they're accepting students from all over the state that are attending this virtual school. And this is a question I think is probably of interest to Chairman Sapicki as well. These students that decide to participate and enroll in local athletics under TSSAA, even though they are attending a virtual school that is in a different zone, are they going to be treated as a transfer student, and will their eligibility be immediate? And if not, should we amend to add something to this bill so that eligibility would be immediate?
Representative Powers, would you like to respond?
Yes, and that's something I think that probably Chairman Sapicki could probably answer better than I, because he was, like he was talking about a while ago, that they do have to be zoned within that LEA. So I don't think the transfer, it would probably be the same transfer requirements that are applicable already to students. I don't think that would change because of this.
Let me go to Chairman Sapicki.
Scott Sapicki, Office of Legal Services. It's Tuesday. Well, this committee hopefully will have an opportunity to vote on the one-time transfer, where it would be a student that would want to go outside of their zone to establish immediate eligibility. That bill will be decided here in about 3 hours in the subcommittee. But remember, eligibility is not established at the high school level until a student enrolls in a high school. So the virtual academy, if it's being given outside of that high school environment, then that individual would not have declared where their eligibility is yet. But once they would take part in, if a student in my county who is virtual, or in your county would decide that they want to play sports at Columbia Central High School, that would establish their eligibility. So if they wanted to go back to Dixon and play, then that bill for the one-time transfer would come into play, and they would have to invoke that bill. Hope that answers your question.
President Barrett, you good?
I'm good. Thank you,
Yeah.
Mr.
Thank you
Chairman.
very much.
Can we go back into session now?
I'm going to recognize Representative Johnson.
Thank you. And I'm sorry if I missed this because I had bills, so I came in late. But the thing I was curious about, a lot of counties have their own virtual schools. So is that what we're talking about here? Or are we talking about like a K-12 Inc. that is statewide, but you might have kids in your county doing that school? However, it's very suspect in how they do attendance. So that's where my concern lay. But typically, the school systems that are doing their own virtual schools do a really great job of that. But there's just not the things in place for our statewide virtual schools where you can really keep a handle on a kid's, like their attendance, behavior, those kinds of things, which you can in a local school system. So is it just the local schools that are virtual, or is it the statewide ones as well?
Okay.
Representative Powers.
Yeah, and yeah, it would include any of the statewide, but going back to what Representative or Chairman Sapicki said earlier about where they're zoned, that's where it would have to be, that would come into place, what school that they're zoned in.
Follow up?
Yes, I worry
local.
way less about zoning. I know that it's just going to be those kids that live in that district. So I support that for sure. My concern is that I have seen year after year after year with these virtual schools, that how they keep attendance and truly keep track of that is not good. And I know that in Knox County, if you're playing sports at a school, they're real particular about you meeting all those requirements to play, and it's just not done in those statewide virtual schools or in some of them. So that's very concerning to me.
And
Thank you. You recognize?
thank you. Yeah, and that was part of this, that they do have to meet the eligibility requirements of that particular area. I mean, so because you're talking about sometimes it's a GPA, sometimes attendance or whatever. So they would still have to be able to satisfy those. To be
Some
eligible.
schools don't do a good job of attendance.
Okay. Okay, anyone else would like to ask our sponsor? We're on House Bill 355, item number 16. I see none. Is there any objection to the question being called? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, would you open up the vote? Madam Clerk, call the roll or call the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 17 ayes and 1 nay.
Okay, House Bill 355 moves out to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman,
committee.
committee.
Members, I'm going to back up 2 spaces to item number 14, House Bill 1227, and we will get Chairman Gary Hicks. You are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. House Bill 1227 proposes language to modernize current processes to allow for maximum efficiency in THEC's work in Tennessee's higher education landscape without sacrificing the state's touch point on accountability and stewardship. This legislation further provides some clarity and alignment to historical practice, 2 aspects of THEC's student-facing functions and responsibilities. So a couple of different aspects that you see is through modernization as well as alignment. And there is an amendment.
In a second on the bill, you do have an amendment.
3865, sir.
That is correct. I got a motion and a second on the amendment. Does the amendment rewrite the bill or
No.
just? You recognize?
No, it does not. It just simply clarifies THEC's authority to identify capital investment needs for the state.
Okay, members, with that explanation, any objection to us adding Amendment 3865 on the House Bill 1227? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The bill is amended, and you're now back on the bill 1227.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I got so excited, I just started telling you about the bill. So I think I've told you about most of it. I'll jump in and answer any detailed questions you have.
Any questions on the bill, members? Question's been called. Is there any objection to that question? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, open up the vote. Or what committee? Madam Clerk, call the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 18 ayes and 0 nays.
Thank you very much. House Bill 1227 moves out to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. That brings us to item number, and those of you on the, well, they kind of left, we're trying to get to everyone on the front row that's here also, but we're going through a few. Item number 17, House Bill 534 by Representative Rutter. She was here a second ago. Representative Rutter right outside. If not, we'll roll her a space and come back. Item number 18, House Bill 515 by Representative Gillespie. He was just here also. Okay, we're going to keep our seats. I know everybody's carrying a lot of bills right now. We'll come back to those 2. If anybody sees them out in the hall, tell them to come back in. Let's jump down to item number 20, House Bill 964 by Representative Hawk. Is he in the room? Okay. Chairman Hawk is chairing the committee, so we'll back up to item number 19, House Bill 1253 Motion is second on your bill. Any amendments? We'll go ahead and come up forward and you are recognized.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, committee. Yes, Amendment 5148 should be on this bill.
5148, does it rewrite the bill or
It
just?
does rewrite the bill.
Okay, members, any objection to adding 5148 onto the bill 1253 for proper discussion? Without objection, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Your bill is properly amended. You may now explain the bill.
What this bill does, it does a couple of different things. First of all, it increases the ability for substitute teachers to substitute for 30 days versus 20. To do that without having a teaching license. That just brings in some consistency in the classroom. Then it also allows each school board or asks for each school board to adopt a policy that requires 6 weeks of paid leave granted pursuant to taking those 6 weeks consecutively, except in extenuating circumstances as determined or approved by the director of schools or the director of a public charter school, or taken non-consecutively, but in increments of no less than 1 week. And it's used within a 12 months of the birth of the child or the stillbirth of a child or an employee's adoption of a minor child. With that, I'll answer any questions.
Members, we have that explanation before. Representative Johnson, you're recognized.
Thank you. I guess it's kind of interesting to me that those things are combined because certainly the paid leave, I'm 1000% support. But I have some concerns when it comes to increasing the amount of time. 20 days is a month, 30 days is a month and a half that students are without a certified teacher. And so in those longer terms, they typically try to get someone in who's certified. And my fear, a lot of times what I see up here is we are having a teacher shortage and it's hard to cover when teachers are out, but we all absolutely have to give those teachers time to be out. But we keep lowering what we're accepting, lowering the standards for what we're accepting in the classroom. And I find that concerning. And so I feel like what we need to be looking at is what can we do to encourage more people to come into the profession. But makes it difficult on this bill. Do you have any concerns at all about going 30 days, and I assume that's 30 class days, without a certified teacher?
Representative Alexander.
No, I don't have any concerns because certified teachers giving them the lessons plans to use. But the reason we did this is because there were kids in the classroom, 20 teachers with 20 days with one teacher. Then we would have a certified teacher come in for 10 days, and then you'd have your regular teacher back, and the inconsistency that brought, especially to the earlier grades, was really hard on the students.
Representative Johnson.
Yeah, and thank you. I can't appreciate that. It's kind of a catch-22
Yes.
because you have the consistency, but the lack of experience. And it all comes down to the things that we keep doing to our teachers instead of for our teachers are causing them to leave the profession. And we're putting, asking a teacher to do sub-plans for 6 weeks when you are, you've got something that's keeping you out for 6 weeks. Some teachers don't miss one day because sub-plans are a nightmare, but a sub-plan for 6 weeks is really something. So I understand what you're trying to do, and I can appreciate that, but I'm also very concerned that we aren't doing anything to ensure that we're keeping our teachers. When we didn't have enough DCS workers, we raised the salaries and we got plenty of DCS workers. So if we got serious about raising teacher salaries and helping them out, we probably wouldn't be in this situation. But I understand the problem and what you're trying to do.
Representative Alexander, then I'm going to go to Chairman Sapicki.
Well, we have been raising the teachers' salaries, and we're up to $50,000 now for starting pay, and we'll keep working on that. I'm for paying teachers everything we can pay them.
Chairman, just speak into our mic, please. Chairman Sapicki.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for clarification, there's nothing in your bill that requires them to do 30 days, just gives them the ability to go to 30 days. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And, Mr. Chairman.
You're recognized.
And also, what this bill is doing is we have classrooms all across the state of Tennessee, unfortunately, that do not have any teacher in those classrooms. And they're combining those classrooms and increasing those class sizes. Your bill would give them more flexibility and latitude to make sure they could keep a teacher in that classroom for a longer period of time, therefore getting some level of education to those kids instead of combining them without a teacher. Is that correct?
You're recognized.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, members, that's all the questions I have from the committee. Anyone else? Seeing none, any objection to us calling the question on House Bill 1253 by Representative Alexander? Hearing no objection, I'm going to ask the clerk to call the roll. Members, please vote. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Chairman, you have 18 ayes and 0 nays.
House Bill 1253 moves out to calendar and rules. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, committee.
Members, let's back up 2 slots to item number 17, House Bill 534 by Representative Rutter. You're recognized. Got a motion and a second. Any amendments? You got a motion and a second. Any amendments, Representative Rutter, on this bill?
No amendments.
No amendments. Okay, you're recognized. You got a motion second. You're recognized to explain your bill.
Last year, we passed legislation to ensure that all school bus drivers and all school buses and school bus drivers have adequate insurance coverage and proof of that insurance. However, we discovered a discrepancy in the statutory language and the terminology used that could cause school bus drivers to obtain separate liability policies in addition to the owners. And this bill resolves that discrepancy. Specifically, it replaces the terms owners and operators with contractors. This clarifies that individual school bus drivers and owners who don't directly contract with school systems are not personally responsible for securing their insurance. The change makes it clear that the responsibility of providing insurance and proof of insurance rests with the contractor. That's my bill.
That's the explanation from Representative Rutter. Members, questions to our sponsor? Representative Boso, you're recognized if you don't mind.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Chair Lady Rutter, for bringing this. Is there anything in statute that requires a minimum insurance coverage amount for these policies that the school bus contractor is required to obtain?
I would not know the answer to that, Representative Bolso.
Can we go out of session and ask legal, Mr. Chairman?
We can, without objection, we will go out of session, members, and we'll ask legal. Let's give her a second to look that up. You recognize legal?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Katie Robertson, Office of Legal Services. It looks like in 2920-107 subdivision 1C, it provides exact numbers for any rail transit accident occurrence. But as to the amount that it could be awarded, but as to the amount covered in insurance policy, I'm not seeing anything. I would need to look further into that for you.
Representative Boso, you recognize?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ms. Robertson.
Any other questions of legal while we're out of session? Seeing none, now back in session, and members, we're still on House Bill 534. Further questions to our sponsor? Hearing none. Excuse me. Any objection to the question? Seeing none. All those in favor, let's go to our clerk for the vote. Madam Clerk, call the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 18 ayes and 0 nays.
Thank you very much. This bill is double referred, so it will move out to Judiciary, 11534. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee.
Thank you. Representative Gillespie come back in. Okay. Then we will move to item number 20, which is Chairman Hawk. Is he in yet? He's not here. Come back. Item number 24, House Bill 676 by Representative Stinnett. You've been patient. Come on up. You got a motion and a second on your bill?
Thank you, Chairman. Present law requires that the School Board of Education to direct the Department of, wait a minute, I probably need to back up because I had a amendment.
You do have an amendment. Let's get
4255.
4255. You have a motion and a second on your amendment. Does it rewrite it or does it add to it?
It changes professional to personnel.
It does rewrite it. So without objection, members, any objection to adding 4255 onto the bill for proper discussion since it rewrites the bill? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Your bill is properly amended. Now you may explain.
Thank you, sir. Present law requires the Board of Education to direct the Department of Education to manage and control the Tennessee School for the Blind, Tennessee School for the Deaf, West Tennessee School for the Deaf, and Alvin Horde York Agriculture Institution. These schools are generally referred to by special schools. In directing the state special schools, present law authorizes the Department to determine the salary, terms of employment for employees in the state special school systems. This bill requires the department to provide the teachers of the state special schools eligible for cumulative and the use of leave in the same manner as public schools teachers and eligible for 6 weeks of paid family leave for the birth or adoption of children in the same manner as state employees. This bill requires that any percentage increase in salary schedule for LEAs where a state special school is located also results in equivalent percentage increase to salary schedules as the state special schools. Finally, this bill specifies that when the General Assembly appropriates money for budgets, salaries, raises, bonuses, other incentives for public schools, teachers, and other licensed personnel employees in the LEA, the public charter schools in this state, the Department of Education must also obligate the appropriation in the equivalent amount for salaries, raises, bonuses, and other incentives for teachers and other licensed personnel employees in the special school systems. Chairman, I stand for questions.
Members, with that complete explanation on House Bill 676, questions of our sponsor? Representative McKenzie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not a question, but as many folks know, I have the pleasure of having Tennessee School for the Deaf in my district, and I'll say that they do God's work. It's a labor of love. They really prepare our constituents that were, born without, in this case, one of our senses. They do an outstanding job, and they love their work. And I'm sure the representatives have seen the efforts of that. So thank you for bringing this bill. It's been, hopefully we can get this across the finish line because they are in that precarious position of being state employees, but also teachers. And so this hopefully will help get them on the right scale, commensurate to what they do. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else would like to have a question of our sponsor on House Bill 676? Oh, Representative Reeves.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So I'll just add on to Representative McKenzie's words. As a member of the Lions Club and once member of its district board, I've been to the Tennessee School for the Blind many times, and they do really, really great work. And I appreciate everything they do. And we certainly, me personally, I want to make sure that they are able to get some of those same benefits. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, anyone else on House Bill 676? See no other questions? Any objection to me calling the question? Seeing no objection, Madam Clerk, would you put the vote on the board? Madam Clerk, call the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 18 ayes and 0 nays.
House Bill 676 moves out to finance. Thank you, sir. Are you prepared to back up one to House Bill 368? That is also yours, item number 23.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you are recognized on House Bill 368. You got a motion and a second. Any amendments?
Yes, sir. 3976.
You got a motion and a second. Does this rewrite the bill or just an addition?
It changes the date of from 25, 26 to 26, 27.
Okay, legal says it does rewrite the bill. So any objection to adding the amendment 3976 to the bill for proper discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Your bill is properly amended. We're now ready for your explanation.
Thank you, Chairman. Tennessee's Safe Haven Law allows mothers in crisis to safely and legally surrender their newborn at designated facilities without the fear of prosecution. Many young people are unaware of this option, which can prevent tragic outcomes for newborns and women who find themselves in difficult situations. By incorporating the education about Safe Haven Law into the state curriculum, we can ensure all students are informed about this life-saving resource. This bill does a couple things. It prevents abandonment, supports young parents in crisis, promotes public safety and health, and fosters responsibility and decision making. This bill encourages the Department of Education to cooperate with a secret, safe place for newborns of Tennessee Industry, a nonprofit organization whose mission is to educate the public and healthcare providers regarding this state safe haven law in development education material aligned with the guidelines developed by the state board. This bill requires the Department of Education to distribute the guidelines developed by the state board to each LEA that serves students in any grade 9 through 12 and to each charter high school before the start of 2026-2027. Chairman, I'm ready for questions.
Representative Johnson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Representative, we talked a little bit, my concern with this bill is not so much what we're putting in, but the fact that we are adding something else to this curriculum. And we've got multiple bills moving through right now that seem to be working towards passage. And we're probably going to potentially triple the numbers of standards for this course without adding 1 minute to the course. And I don't see how you can require teachers to teach 3 times the standards in the same amount of time. So my big concern here is we are not removing anything, but we are adding whatever standards will come along with this and all the other pieces of legislation too. And that's all going to take effect in 26. And so I printed the standards for what we currently have and then what it would look like for 2026, because there's already some things to be added. So we are literally, potentially more than tripling the number of standards without increasing the class time to teach these things at all. And that's what's concerning to me.
Thank you, Representative Johnson. As always, a good point to point out. Representative?
Representative, the secret safe place for newborns industry are willing to have folks who will come in and deliver this information to a student and will not require our teachers to be prepared to do this themselves.
Any follow-up? Okay. Have no one else to ask the questions? Chairman Slater? You good? Anyone else? Okay, we're on House Bill 368 by Representative Stinnett. Any objection to the question being called? Hearing none. Would the clerk please call the vote? Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 16 ayes and 1 nay.
Okay, House Bill 368 moves out to calendar and rules. Thank you. Let's jump down to item number 26, HB 506. Is Representative Love in the room? He is not. We'll come back to him. Item number 28, House Bill 1385. Representative Harris, you're here?
Motion.
You got a motion and a second. Let's check, let's make sure you got any amendments to your bill. Do you show any amendments on your half?
No, Chairman.
Okay, we're not showing any either. Do you have motion second on 1385? Explain your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to the committee. Before you today is House Bill 1385, and I ask for favorable consideration on this legislation, which strengthens transparency and accountability in school-related fundraising. This bill ensures that organizations representing themselves as school support organizations provide annual reports of their receipts and expenditures to the Department of Education, creating a clear record of how funds raised in the name of the schools are managed. And so with that, I ask for positive support for this bill to move forward.
Explanation by the sponsor. Questions? House Bill 1385. See none. Representative Glenn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Does this include Girl Scout cookies?
You're recognized.
The price on Girl Scout cookies has went up, but that does not include that in this bill.
Thank you. Anyone else? What committee is this going to? Okay, I don't hear any objection to the question. Hearing none. Without objection, Madam Clerk, call the vote. Madam Clerk, call the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 18 ayes and 0 nays.
Okay, House Bill 1385 does move out to calendar and rules. Are you prepared for item number 29, which is House Bill 1377?
Yes, Chairman, and there's no amendment on that one as well.
One second. We're saying there is.
Oh, well, you know what? No?
What's the number?
Is there?
7. Okay, we had Amendment 4572 is adopted in admin sub. Do you have the explanation on that?
Chairman, yes, that made the bill.
According to our notes, it does not rewrite the bill. Yeah. We go ahead and let you look at it real quick and then we can explain it.
Put that on last week.
Yeah, but you got it.
Okay, great. Awesome.
1377, House Bill. Okay, we're on Amendment 4572. You want to take a look at that?
Yes, I have that one.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. And so the amendment it does rewrite the bill. So I guess I'll just explain it as it is stated here.
Okay, why don't we do this? Is there any objection to add? It doesn't rewrite the bill according to our legal, but any members, any objection to add the amendment to the bill for full and proper discussion? I see no objection. So without objection, all those in favor of adding Amendment 4572 on the House Bill 1377 indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Your bill is amended in full. Let's go ahead and explain the bill as you understand.
Thank you, Chairman, and to the committee. House Bill 1377 is a bill that strengthens transparency and communication around student literacy by ensuring that reading screeners results are included directly on or with the report cards. This legislation empowers parents with clearer insights into their child's reading development. Oftentimes, a student may receive a letter grade of an A or a B in reading, but still be reading below grade level, and their parents may have no idea. So this bill is about the transparency and empowerment. It ensures that parents receive a clear, honest statement of their child's actual reading levels and not just the grade. And so with that, I ask that this committee vote in favor of this bill.
Okay, there's the explanation before us. Representative Johnson?
Yes, thank you. So I don't have the bill in front of me. Is it for certain grade levels? Is this K through 12?
Representative Harris?
Thank you, Chairman. And so, no, it's from K through 8. Reading screener, universal reading screeners are done K through 8. K through 3, they're done multiple times versus 4 through 8. They're only done one time. And so those reading screeners each year would be added onto the report card or progress reports or with the progress report and report card.
You recognize?
So they have to, the 4 through 8 teachers have to give the screener. How many more times do report cards go out every 9 weeks, or do systems do it differently?
You're recognized.
So systems do them differently. That's why we didn't include it actually on the report cards, because each system does it differently. Some provide a little bit more progress reports than others. So it's not on the same cycle.
So if you've got a class of 35 7th graders, you've got to give those screeners to them every time their report card goes out?
Representative Harris?
Thank you, Chairman. No. So the universal screener is provided on the basis that the state requires. And whenever that comes out, the grading for that is immediately released to the LEAs. They're just to provide that information on the report cards or with the progress reports.
Okay. So they're not required to change it if there's a change in the reading or to retest every time. Okay. That's what I was trying to figure out. Thank you.
Thank you. I personally do like this bill. I appreciate you bringing it. One of the things we ran into when we had the 3rd grade retention, 4th grade retention is a lot of parents will say, well, my child's making A's and B's, but the reading proficiency was not there. And so we were kind of caught off, a lot of parents were caught off guard. So I think this would be one way to address that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
Chairman Spicki.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Excellent bill. Just for clarification, so whenever they give the universal screeners, they'll give the universal screeners. But you on your bill, when they have a report card, it'll be the one that was most recent to that report card being given, and the dyslexia screener will be on there too for clarification. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, members. Any further discussion? House Bill 1377. I have no one else. Any objection to the question being called? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the vote? Clerk, would you please call the vote?
Mr. Chairman, you have 18 ayes and 0 nays.
House Bill 1377 moves out the calendar and rules.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, committee.
Members, a couple more. I see Representative Hardaway out there, and he does have a guest. I know I think we got some things with his bill, but I do want to get Representative Hardaway up here because he has a person to speak. Look at item number 32, committee. That's House Bill 453 by Representative Hurt. That's been requested to be rolled for 1 week. Let's try one more before we go to Representative Hardaway. Item number 35, House Bill 825 by Representative Mayberry. You got a motion and a second on your bill. Once you get situated, let us know if you got an amendment that's moving with it.
Mr. Chairman, I do have an amendment.
Okay, what's that amendment, sir?
5398.
5398. You got a motion, second amendment. Does it rewrite or just?
I believe that's considered a rewrite.
It is
yes.
a rewrite. So members, any objection to adding 5398 amendment to House Bill 825, since it does rewrite the bill for proper discussion? All those in favor? Any objection to me calling that question? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. We're now on your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. HB 825 requires the Department of Education to provide guidance to create social media, internet, and AI safety lessons during coordinated school health for grades 6 through 12. Schools must teach students how to stay safe online, managing their time, protect their privacy, and spot dangerous behavior. It also requires them to block social media on the internet unless it's for education and strengthens online. This will strengthen online protections in our school system. This bill will empower students, support parents, and help schools create a safer online environment for our kids. This is a common step solution to protect our students and equip them for the tools they need to navigate the digital world safely. And I ask your support for HB 825. I stand to answer your questions.
Representative Johnson.
Thank you. What class, what courses will this be taught in?
You are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I'll do that.
As I shared before in the subcommittee, coordinated health is what I'm suggesting.
Okay, and again, it's like, I think this is, good things to have in the curriculum, teaching kids about internet safety and all of that. But once again, it's the same curriculum where we're increasing so many standards, but we're not increasing time allowed, and that's concerning. But thank you.
Chairman Haston.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I will just say, I am a coordinator. It's about 9th or 10th year as a coordinator. And a lot of the coordinators are already do some of this. A lot of times it's not having to fit inside of necessarily the class schedule. They work with the principals and they work with getting presenters in and being able to do it. And it's so far it's worked great. I appreciate the bill. I think that a lot of this is already being done, but just putting a highlight on it. I think a lot of coordinators are already doing this, but I think the ones that aren't, it gives us some motivation to find some ways to get in there. Me and my SRO went to about 7 classrooms earlier this year and did this presentation that dealt with this. So I appreciate the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. President Glenn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, sponsor, for the bill. Just one question. Why did you start at the 6th grade? What's the reason behind that?
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Glenn, I chose 6th to 12th grade because it's, the older population that are more likely to have cell phones and access to the internet. But you are correct in that 4th and 5th graders these days do have phones. And yes, you're correct. I had not actually necessarily thought about that until this moment. But 6th to 12th grade is that group, bulk of people that do that. I work, as you know, I work with young people, run an after-school program. I run an after-school program that has a high population of single-parent households within it. About 150 students get bused over to our after-school program. And the majority of them have no sense of internet safety, social media, and AI. And as I work with them, understanding that, talk to teachers, talk to schools, it's made it apparent that this is a very serious topic that I just want to make sure we highlight in safety. Also, I actually amended this right before I filed it to include AI. I saw a very sad story of a young man named Swell Setzler who sadly committed suicide. He was a 14-year-old young man in the state of Florida because an AI bot, he developed a romantic relationship with that AI bot, and the AI bot actually asked him to commit suicide to be with him. And that was just heartbreaking. So there's real worries out there about AI, and obviously this AI was working incorrectly, and that software was fixed from my understanding from this point. But it's just very important that kids understand these aren't people. The AI it can be a great tool, but make sure you have the safety for that.
Thank you. Anyone else, members? I have no one else. Any objection to the question being called on House Bill 825? Hearing none. With no objection to the question, Madam Clerk, call the vote. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 16 ayes, 0 nays, and 1 present not voting.
House Bill 825 does move out of calendar and rules. Thank you very much. Okay, Representative Hardaway, we're running out of time and I've got to get 2 confirmations, but you do have guests. Here's what I want to do on your bill, which is item number 25, House Bill 1113. You have an amendment that you and Representative Hurt were working on, I believe, and it hasn't been added yet. So in recognition of your guest here, what I want to do is I'm going to bring your bill up, let your guest speak, and then I'm going to ask to roll this bill a week while we work on that amendment. Is that right? And I've only got 5 minutes, so we're going to move kind of fast here. Okay, does that work? That'll work for you?
That's perfect, sir.
You got a motion second on House Bill 113, and any objection? Go ahead, give us 30 seconds of what you're trying to accomplish.
Thank you, Chairman. And we're moving a particular group. We're setting up outside of the Department of Health the ability for parents to participate in a committee that will give advice on the safety and care aspects for student athletes.
Okay, with that explanation, members, I'm going to go out of session. We've got a couple of speakers. Without objection, we're out of session. Do we have one speaker speaking for all, or do I need, who is going to be the speaker? Okay, sir, I'm going to recognize you if you'll state your name for the AV record, and if you will, keep your comments to about a minute, and then if any questions, we'll move on. Thank you. You're recognized.
My name is Dennis Price Sr. I'm the father of Dennis Price Jr., and I'm here to represent the Dennis Price Jr. Foundation. My son, Dennis Price Jr., passed away at 16 years old from an undiagnosed heart condition, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. DJ was 16 years old, around 6'4", 200 pounds of solid muscle. And as far as me and his mom was concerned, he was perfectly healthy. He took physicals every year. He was a very popular basketball player in the city of Memphis. And we've been working on this for a couple of years, quite a few years actually. And it doesn't get any easier to talk about.
Understand.
So I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, for your time and committee.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to say something while we have a moment or two left? They're working on. We had this in subcommittee, and we appreciate you coming and expressing the issues that Representative Hardaway is trying to address, and we thank you so very much. Yes, sir. Recognize you if you state your name for the record.
Yes, my name is Reginald Shaw. I'm the uncle of Dennis Jr. And I'm asking for support of this bill because, as I stated last week, I'm the one that fixes things for the family, and I couldn't fix this one. So if we can fix it for another family, it would be very, very beneficial for those involved. We just don't want to see anybody else go through this when they don't really have to. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. And I thank you all for your time. And sorry, one more comment.
Has partnered with Labano Hospital in Memphis, UT, and a cardiologist, Dr. Ryan Stevens. So this bill, we're gonna do a pilot program at one of the city schools in Memphis. We've been approved next month on April the 10th. So we're gonna start a pilot program and with these more in-depth physicals.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, and I really extremely apologize. We're pushed by the clock. Representative Johnson, can you give a brief comment? Then I'm gonna move on.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you because I have Marfan syndrome, which is another heart ailment. Flo Hyman, the Olympic volleyball player, dropped dead on the court. She was an Olympic athlete. She had all the tests, but they did not know that she had Marfan syndrome. And so, looking deeper is incredibly important.
Thank you very much, Representative Johnson. And I am going to have to cut it. If y'all able to come back, welcome. We got to get this bill in order with the amendments, and we do that. So without objection, we're now back in session. Thank you so much for you being patient with us. With that, House Bill 1113 is being rolled for 1 week. Representative Hardaway.
Thank you.
Okay, let's get our, we have two confirmations today. The first confirmation is House Joint Resolution 166. I'd like to invite Mr. Todd Womack to come out. This is a confirmation for the University of Tennessee Chattanooga Advisory Board. And the second confirmation will be House Joint Resolution 190. The confirmation of Rick Spell for the University of Tennessee Health Science Center Advisory Board. These are both advisory board positions. We'll have to take two different votes. So without objection, I am going to go out of session without objection. And I'm going to start with Mr. Todd Womack, that many of us know for many, many years. Yes, pardon me. We back up a little bit. We're back in session. Let's have an opening statement from Representative Greg Vital. You got a motion and a second on House Joint Resolution 166. Representative Vital, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. This is the first opportunity I've had in 4 years to sit through a complete education committee, so I'm glad to be here for this confirmation. It's my privilege to introduce House Joint Resolution 166, which calls for the appointment of Todd Womack to the University of Tennessee Advisory Board. Todd Womack has been a friend for many years as president and CEO of Bridge Public Affairs in Chattanooga. He is the former chief of staff and staff director for U.S. Senator Bob Corker when he was mayor of the city of Chattanooga and for his full 12 years at the U.S. Capitol in Washington. A long history of support for UTC. He is a 1995 graduate of the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. And I must say that many of you are acquainted with Todd, and he is an amazing individual and all things about the University of Tennessee and Go Mocs. And so I would be glad to answer any questions, but for the absence of time, I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that, Representative Vital. Okay, we're going to go out of session. We're now going to come back to Mr. Todd Womack. Take a minute and introduce yourself and explain.
Yeah, thank you,
Your
Mr.
role.
Chairman, and thank you, Representative Vital, very much for your kind words. It's an honor to get to be before you today and to see so many friends from over the years. This is a reappointment to the advisory board of the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. It's been an honor to serve in that capacity for the past 4 years, and I'm honored to be reappointed to help move the university forward. They're in the middle of a chancellor search right now, and excited about that and the impact that they make on our community is so important in being able to help support their efforts there. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, very much.
Thank you, members. Anyone have a question of Mr. Womack at this point in time? Representative King?
Uh-oh.
Not a question, Mr. Chairman, just a comment. Like Representative Vital, I've known Mr. Womack for many years. I do count him as a friend. I hope you all don't count that against him. But I would hope we move forward on this reappointment. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Representative Akeem, very much.
Thank you very much. And while I'm going to have the votes all at one time in a moment, do each one separate. Let's go to House Joint Resolution 190 at the same time. Mr. Rick Spell, you got a motion and a second. I'm going to allow you to introduce yourself and explain what you're doing, and appreciate you being here.
Yes, my name's Rick Spell, and I'm a longtime businessman in Memphis. I attended the University of Memphis, and I've served on various boards at the University of Memphis. Through that, I work closely with Raj Kripathi, who is the CFO of the UT Med Center. UT Med Center is an invaluable asset of the city of Memphis and the state of Tennessee. I've met people traveling around America in my business interests who are doctors outside the state and have fond memories of the education they got here. My best friend is Dr. Steve Gubin, who's the president of Stern Cardio. His son is currently attending University of Tennessee Med He was interning down with a doctor in New Orleans to attend Tulane. Once he was accepted at UT Med, he realized that while Tulane is a private college and has a great reputation, the reputation of the University of Tennessee Medical Center was higher. And I'm proud to say he now attends school there. So we have this great asset. My job as an advisory member will be to probably fundraise, as I seem to always end up in that role, but also to spread the word of what the University of Tennessee Medical Center does well, because it's a great asset for our great state.
Thank you very much, Mr. Spell. Members, any questions of Mr. Spell while he's before us? Seeing none. We are now, thank you so very much. We're now back in session. Let's go back to HGR 166. We do have a motion in a second on the confirmation of Mr. Todd Womack, the University of Tennessee Chattanooga Advisory Board. Any objection to the question being called? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the vote? Madam Clerk, call the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 17 ayes and 0 nays.
House Joint Resolution moves out. 166 moves out the calendar and rules. Congratulations, Ms. Womack. Appreciate it. Now on House Joint Resolution 190, do I have a motion and a second? Second. You got a motion and a second on the confirmation of Mr. Rick Spell, the University of Tennessee Health Science Center Advisory Board. Thank you so very much. As a Memphian, I appreciate you serving on that board very, very much. Okay, I do have to pass the gavel to Chairman Sapicki because my name is on this.
Madam Clerk, will you take the vote? Members, please vote. Madam Clerk, take the vote, please.
Mr. Chairman, you have 17 ayes and 0 nays.
Members, House Joint Resolution 190 moves off the calendar and rules.
Thank you very much, Chairman Sapicki. Members, item number 3, House Joint Resolution 198. We are rolling 1 week at this point. Ms. Dockery cannot be here. Members, any other further discussion in the committee? All bills that were not covered today will be rolled to next week's calendar. Any objection to adjournment? Hearing none. All those, we are adjourned.
With 2 minutes to spare.
Wow.
Yes.